Hey, what is up, YouTube? It's your girl Miranda here, and we are back with our Ashes of the Empire limited set review. So quick note before we get started, if you like limited content, you'd like my takes, I don't post like super often, but at the very least I will post a set review for each set, and sometimes there'll be some bonus content as well. So if you don't want to miss a video, make sure you hit the subscribe and like buttons. All that stuff really helps with getting the videos out there. So we'll start with our usual disclaimer is just a quick note on sealed versus draft. I'm part of the school of thought that I'd rather have good cards than a mediocre leader than the other way around. You don't really have any control over what leaders you have access to in sealed, so sometimes you just play a leader because it has the aspect that you want. Draft is different in that you already know what leaders you have before you start drafting. This video is more geared for the pre-release, but I will comment on draft viability wherever it's relevant. Also, I don't give ratings on cards. Card valuation is highly dependent on your leader and the rest of your pool. Obviously, there are bombs that go into every single deck, but you don't need me to tell you that. It's more about knowing how to make the best use of the cards that you have. All right, so jumping right in with the leaders, our first one is the armor. So we do have fewer multicolored cards in the set, so unlike a lot of this time, not having access to heroic or villainy cards is a bigger deal. You'll still roughly have access to the same number of cards, but you'll be missing out on the more powerful ones. The armor's leader ability is kind of trash, as it's generally not a good idea to cram your deck full of crappy upgrades. She does deploy on 5 with decent stats, so at least she's not completely unplayable. Fennec Shand, absolute garbage, stay away. Balin Skull, he's okay. You're likely going to play him for the aspects and the early deploy. I suspect his leader ability won't be used that often. He will be a problem once he's out, provided you can work around the restriction, and there are a few cards that do work well with it. Grand Admiral Thrawn. 8 is like a lot. The unit side is quite powerful, even if it reads as win more to me. I'd much rather have a Balin for the better early game. Luke Skywalker. He's pre-release only, where you'll be seeing a lot of him. 7 is late, but the leader helps you in not falling behind on board. And once Luke deploys, it becomes very hard for your opponent to win. Sabine Wren. Oof, this leader is clunky. You might be stuck with her in your drafts, so look to pick up as many Sentinels as you can. Overall, Sabine needs a lot of moving pieces for her to work. I'd look elsewhere. Grand Admiral Sloane. How good she is entirely dependent on the board state and can range from useless to pretty good. I personally don't like my leader to be that unreliable and would only consider her if I absolutely needed those aspects. Moff Gideon. There are a lot of high quality Imperial units in the set, many of which have keywords to power him up on the deploy turn. He's decent in seal, provided you get enough Imperials in your pool. In draft, he'll be a menace. Ahsoka Tano. Her unit side says support on it, so that's immediately worth considering. Getting the buff on either side can be tricky, but it's not insurmountable. Bo-Katan Kryze. Another garbage leader right to the unplayable pile with you. Cad Bane. I'm actually really annoyed that he can never kill a unit with this ability. That's just me, though. It's still absurd to have a mostly unconditional ping. He single-handedly invalidates shields, Kryze and Sabine, and will provide value throughout the game. Vayne. The idea here is to use this with advantage tokens, yeah? Pass. That's far too unreliable for my tastes. Ezra Bridger. He's solid, although limited in that he doesn't actually do anything if you're forced to attack units. The ideal situation is to have a 3-attack space unit and use the advantage tokens to value trade on the ground. The issue with that is that there aren't that many 3-attack space units. Another issue with Ezra is that he forces you to play badly, either by attacking base when you shouldn't or playing your units before attacking. It's just not what I'm looking for, but he'll do in a pinch if you need the aspects. It may be possible to draft a very aggressive Ezra deck, so don't count him out entirely. The Mandalorian. It's our other support leader, which already makes me like him more than Ezra. There's no need to play off curve to draw a card every turn. Just use it when you don't have anything better to do. And make sure you have the initiative going into the deploy turn for a couple of free cards. Emperor Palpatine. He's okay, I guess. The other 7 deploy leaders do a lot when they hit the board, and old Palpy kind of doesn't. Plus, if you have a ton of units in play, you're already winning. It's nice that his leader ability doesn't cost any resources, so he's got that going for him. Shin Hati. I really don't like how she's dramatically better when you have the initiative, to the point where the die roll makes a huge difference. Definitely make sure you have high attack units. Ideally, every unit in your deck has cost +1 attack. She'll be better in draft where you have some control over your card pool. Grief Karga. Heck yeah, incremental advantage, no pun intended, throughout the entire game that doesn't cost an action or a resource. Sign me up. Carl is also the only game in town for heroic cunning, so there's that. Grogu. I forgot who said this, but Grogu is like a real life child. He doesn't do anything useful and just takes up space. All right, so moving into the commons and uncommons, we'll separate them by aspect, and then we'll end off with the rares, legendaries, and specials. So first off, we have Scorpinek Annihilator Droid. It's Scorponok! Transformers leaking into Star Wars, I see. Yeah, so fat sentinels are good. Shielded sentinels are good. So a fat shielded sentinel is amazing. Rancor Keeper. Hey, it's Danny Trejo. It's a 2-cost 2/4. We play those. There's a cute interaction where Cad Bane where you can ping your opponent's base if you really want to. Tatooine Repulsor Train. Decent, if a bit on the slow side. It's a bit awkward that you want to attack with it last in order to get the most value from the on-attack ability. But hey, it hits for 8, so you might not care. Purgle Ultra. Oof, that is a heck of a cost, both in terms of playing the whale and actually using the ability. I would still consider it because this set is very light on removal. Outcast. I'm not a fan of 1-power units. The ability is only marginally useful. I'd only play this if I was extremely light on turn 1 plays. Barris Offie. A 3/4 for 3 is already very playable, and there's a nice ability there as a bonus. Reanimated Night Trooper. Man, Vigilance Villainy seems to get a crappy 1-cost dork every set, huh? Scion Shuttle. Everything I said about Outcast applies here. Imperial Armored Commando. This is good enough to be a premier staple. It's one of the better commons in the set and an excellent reason to be in these aspects. Imperial double keyword for Gideon even. Shin Hati. Has some synergy with Balin, but still extremely good in any deck in these aspects. Morgan Elsbeth. Most units with support are going to be good, not use Scion Shuttle. And here we get to trade a crappy unit for a real unit or snipe a leader. Morgan is one of the few units that can hold Luke hostage. Fantastic card. Reinforcing Light Cruiser. Another extremely solid 6-drop that can prevent your opponent's leader from attacking from return. Pointless to resist. No, this card is pointless. Hu Yang. A turn 1 2/4 with a relevant ability. Let's go. Lothal Ewing. I've said many times that I like having cheap space units. It won't always have Restore, but I'm happy to attack for 2 every turn. Duchess's Protector. Curve filler that I could very easily cut if I had enough 3s already. Strike Team Vanguard. Yeah, I mean, this is just going to be bigger than anything your opponent plays that turn. The Armorer. She's totally fine as a double shielded 5/5. Extra shields are a nice bonus when they do happen. Home 1. One of the better finishers in these aspects. Good luck ever winning in space through this thing. Get lost! You have to say it in a New York accent. There's very little removal in this set, so we kind of have to play crappier ones like this one. Domesticated Lothcat. Bad Kitty. No Tea Nomad. No Tea, more like not in my deck. Battered Hullcraft. Another 2-power space unit I'm happy to play on turn 1. Every once in a while you can play it later and do something useful. Dr. Pershing. This doesn't do anything the vast majority of cases. Palace Chef Droid. What's with the 0-power units? No thanks. Most Isley Modifier. I mean, it can be good sometimes. Just not on turn 2 when I want to be playing my 3-drops. I wouldn't play this in most decks, but it's fine as a 30th card in the rare cases where it gets you an excellent trade or just kills your opponent out of nowhere. Pit Droid Team. It's playable filler, that's it. Remnant Official. It's pretty good in the Gideon deck as your opponent really has to kill it. Sadly, he won't give Gideon Restore. B-Wing Rearguard. This should almost always have Sentinels, so it's a pretty good deal. Covert Believers. The Mando token doesn't excite me enough for me to be happy playing a 4/5 for 5. It'll make the deck a fair amount of the time because it is better than skipping your turn, I guess. Nebulon C Frigate. Those are some pretty crappy stats, so I hope you have something good to stall into if you're playing this. Trexler Armored Marauder. It's a pretty decent card to fill out that part of the curve. You won't always have a unit to give a shield to, but it's still fine as is. Grab Charge. This is highly situational. In most cases, your opponent will just trade with one of your units. The only time this does something is if you play it in an arena where you don't have units. Like, I would consider siding this in if my opponent had a lot of space and I didn't. Durasteel Plating. It's fine as a 30th card. It can be really annoying if you put it on your leader or another high value unit, but it's not usually worth including. Cybernetic Enhancements. Ew. The Conflict Within. Nah, there's no conflict. I'm pretty sure I don't want to play this. Perseverance. It's another fine as a 30th card. This is basically the same thing as Durasteel Plating. Buy Time. It's kind of a do-nothing card. Foundling Rescue. In most sets, I would not want to play this, but we're struggling for removal here. It's a bit better in Catbane, at least. Captain Pelion. He's a turn 1 2/4. We play those. Remnant Interceptor. Not the best stats for a turn 1 unit where the support ability is wasted. I would play this in a Gideon deck, but it's a little weak with other leaders. Still, it is less embarrassing than other turn 1 plays, as you can get a tiny bit of value later on, so it will make the cut more often than not. Forest Patroller. Excellent common for any command villainy deck, and extra good in Gideon as an Imperial unit with a keyword. Moff Gideon. An early fat Sentinel is already good, extra gross when you have a bunch of Imperial units to recur when he's defeated. AT-ST Raider. This should have ambush most of the time, another excellent common for this aspect pair. Gozanti Assault Carrier. Yep, support and Sentinel where you want it for a turn on a fat space unit is what I'm looking for 5 resources. Long Live the Empire. It's probably not worth spending a card and defeating one of your units to ramp, particularly if you're not progressing your board that turn. It's just too much negative tempo. Pathfinder Sergeant. I don't love playing 2/3s on the ground, but the extra value of picking off damaged units later in the game is worth including in every deck in these aspects. Clan Ren Loyalist. These are horrible stats for a 3-drop, even if it sometimes replaces itself. Play if you're light on 3s, otherwise cut it. Crix Nadine. What did I just say? T6 Shuttle 1974. Locks down space and gives you some action compression, an excellent uncommon. Children of the Watch. We have Queen Amidala at home. Mandalorian flagship. I mean, I'll play this, but it's going to get resourced a lot. The student guides the master. Find another master. Antroid. It's far too low impact to think about including. Outland Protector. Another stinky low impact do-nothing. Grief Karga. Your opponent will just attack the Grief. If you're lucky, he'll at least trade. He is great against the space opener, and well, we don't always have enough good 2-drops to leave guys like this on the bench. Warrior of Clan Kreese. Another ho-hum 2/3 that might not even trade with whatever attacks into it. Another card you'll play because you have to. Blurg. Blurg is just fun to say. It's a 3/4 that can randomly win you the game later on. Consortium Star Viper. Our first reprints. Always happy to play this, even better in decks that can cheat on actions. Protectorate Fighter. I'd have to have at least 3 to 4 unique turn 1 units to consider playing this. Stolen Edda Shuttle. Either your opponent has to claim early or they eat 5 damage per turn. That's a good deal. Survivor's Langskib. Langskib? Langskib. Funny word. Sentinels are always valuable. This will go into every command deck. Defenders of the Forest. Luckily, it won't survive, but this is as close as we get to removal at common in the set. The Overwhelm is also super relevant. Fang Fighter Squadron. One of the less exciting support cards since it doesn't actually grant any abilities, but at least it's a fat space unit. Dinosaur Turtle. Yep, every set has these big vanilla units at this spot in the curve. These are nice to fill out your deck. Trask Walker, or Trash Walker, as everyone's going to call it. I mean, I don't know how your opponent is supposed to win when this is in play. There aren't that many better things to do on 8 resources. Warrior's Legacy. Barf. Display of Strength. I usually hate cards like this. It's a bit more justifiable in this set with the lack of removal. The risk your opponent interacts with the unit before you get to attack with it isn't 0, however, so don't say I didn't warn you. Wipe them out. It's a bit too situational to include. Turning the Tide. We have slim pickings for removal in this set, so we're kind of forced to play weaker cards like this. I'd absolutely cut this in a deck that isn't good at going wide, like, say, a Balin deck. Hold them off. It's not overwhelming barrage, but that was the best limited card ever printed in this game. There is a condition that you have to have a unit big enough to actually do something, although that's not an unreasonable ask. This card is bonkers with Balin's deploy turn, again provided you meet the condition for his ability. I would 100% play this off aspect with any big body leader or any deck with beefy units. It's minimal setup for huge payoff, just what you want in a limited bomb. Stronger together. Meadow tokens are good, but they're like, not that good. TIE Striker. It's a turn one play that will sometimes make your deck, although I would always play it in Gideon. At least one health units are marked safe from Aura Sing and Cad Bane in this deck. Not so much from the other pingers, though. Mortar Trooper. Despite the Imperial trait, this card is at its best in a Cad Bane deck where it's more likely to finish off weakened units. Still fine include in any deck in these aspects. Tempest Lieutenant. Yep, I play every turn 1 3/2, even if I'll be sad if my opponent plays a 2/4. And blah blah blah, Imperial with the keyword for Gideon, you know the drill by now. Praetorian Elite. It's a 5/4 for 4 with a semi-relevant ability. We play those. Justifier. Obviously meant to go in the Cad Bane deck and completely reasonable without the setup pings. The Cyborg Mech. Another stellar card for Cad Bane. With the lack of removal events, we have to count on our units to get the job done, and this guy will kill most ground guys with only a little bit of effort. Deadly Vulnerability. It's super clunky, but it is a good way to get rid of your opponent's leader or other high-value unit, even if it'll cost you another card or two in most cases. You gotta do what you gotta do. Inspired Recruit. I don't love 3/1s, especially ones with no text or relevant traits. As with the TIE Striker, there isn't a leader that kills it for free, but there are other pings in the set that do. It still makes the deck more often than not because we do need turn 1 plays. Honorable Night Owl. It's a turn 1 3/2 and attack with some value later in the game. Will absolutely suck if your opponent plays a 2/3, so don't lose the die roll. R5D4. It's a solid little beater with some highly relevant abilities. Beyond advantage tokens, there are some real upgrades you'll be glad to remove as well. Danger Squadron Wingmen. Those are solid stats on a 4-drop space unit, and the on-attack ability is a nice bonus. Always happy to jam as many of these into my deck as I can. Alphabet Squadron U-Wing. This can close out the game very quickly if your opponent doesn't play into space, plus the flexibility to put advantage token where you need it will be nice when you need to attack units. Kachiro Militia. Incredibly annoying if you slam down these guys as your first action. Another great mid-game card for these aspects. Rash Action. Far too low impact to consider including. Alamite Hunter. Lamau, what am I supposed to do with this? Clan Vizsla Soldier. 2/3 is another stat line I don't love in a turn 1 ground unit, but you do have to play them sometimes. The ability is okay. Remember, your opponent does get a vote on when it triggers. Ewok Warrior. Yup, no. Flare Star Attack Shuttle. It's okay, turn 1 filler. Axe Woves. TBH, I'd rather have a vanilla 3/4, but this is okay too, I guess. It's better in the Mandalorian. Desert Sharpshooter. Fantastic against most decks. Another card I'm happy to have in multiples. Pegasus Tri-Wing. This is busted in a Grief deck where it always gets the interplay ready. Still worth playing otherwise if you have a decent number of advantage effects. In most cases, it's not worth defeating a real upgrade, but it is nice to have the option, I suppose. Razor Crest. Discarding a card is a hefty cost, but man, 5 damage in space is a lot. Just hope you can close out the game quickly so that the card disadvantage doesn't matter. Shydop Pirate Skiff. Yep, regular stat line with a relevant ability, we play those. Star Fortress Heavy Bomber. This will nuke most ground units, which is good compensation for playing such an understated unit. It's a valuable effect in a format where actual removal is scarce. Wookiee Chieftain. It's decent curve filler. Imposing Scout Walker. Unlike the Star Fortress, it'll take some work to kill a unit when played, but oh man, if you do, your reward is a giant unit your opponent has to deal with or die. Knobby White Ice Spider. I hate the name of this card. It's so gross. Anyways, this is a solid finisher for any aggression deck, almost always forcing an early claim from your opponent. Boken Saber. It's not worth a card for this effect. Mark my words, another subpar upgrade. Follow Me. It's okay. I wouldn't include this in most decks, but if I had an aggressive deck with a lot of space units, I'd consider this as a 30th card. Intimidation. If it was just draw 2 cards, I still don't think I would play it. You just can't afford to durdle in this game. Reckoning. Yeah, I mean, beggars can't be choosers. Unreliable removal is better than no removal. Galvanized Leap. It might be worth it to ready a big Gideon or a Luke, but I wouldn't play this in most decks. Emperor's Messenger. Do you really need me to tell you to not play 0/3s in your deck? Peridia Bandit. It dies if you sneeze on it, but 4 attack is a lot for a turn 1 play. Every once in a while, you'll play this against a space opener and feel real good about yourself. Shin Hati's Fiend Fighter. Speaking of space openers, this is one of the best ones. Fennec Shand. She'll rarely survive her ambush, but this is one of the best ways to pick off problematic small units in the set. Both ends of Saboteur are extremely relevant here. Emperor's Champion. Speaking of great ways to pick off small units, this guy brawls exceptionally well and will often trade for 2 or more units. Snub Fighter Squadron. Kind of bad on an empty space arena, but otherwise a fantastic include in any Cunning Villainy deck. Nowhere to hide. Not true. You can hide in my sideboard. Open Circle Ace. Not the most exciting card in the world, but I do love playing cheap space units. Blade 3. It's okay, more filler than anything else, but it is nice when your opponent goes wide. Inspiring Veteran. Speaking of going wide. Heroic Purgle. Hell yeah, this is a great way to avoid getting cheesed out in space. Sabine Wren. And speaking of cheese, this card is gross in Grief. Ezra Bridger. It shouldn't be too hard to get some value from the support ability. Again, Grief shines here. Even if you don't get to shrink your opponent's units, a 6/6 is nothing to sneeze at. DDC Defender. No thanks. Womp Rat. 2/1s in space are fine. 2/1s on the ground are not. Amnesty Officer. Keywords are everywhere, but man, this sucks as a turn 1 unit. I would count this as an event, not one of your turn 1 plays, although if you have absolutely nothing else to play, it'll do in a pinch. Flanking TIE Interceptor. Now this one I would count as a turn 1 play, only because it's a space unit. Still, you prefer not to play it on turn 1 if you don't have to. Mandalorian Scout. I'm willing to accept a downside risk to get to play Battlefield Marine, especially since there's a lot of not so great turn 1 units making their way into decks. Mayor's Major Domo. The mayor should probably hire some better staff. Fairy Droid. A 5/5 for 3 is gigantic even if it's only for a turn. Hopefully you can kill a better unit with it and not just have a shield soak up all the damage. Remnant Lookouts. It's not bad. I'd rather have a unit with better stats, but that ability can randomly win you the game sometimes. Helix Starfighter. It's a solid, flexible curve filler. What more do you want? Unsanctioned Patrol. What did I just say? Halo. Cunning eating well in space in this set. Tatooine Sandbeast. If you can protect it with a Sentinel, it'll end the game very quickly, but usually your opponent will claim early and then trade a cheaper unit into it, which is still fine. Kira. She's a decent late game finisher, nothing to get too excited about. Heightened Awareness. Blah. Preparation. It's above rate stats, I suppose. I don't love it, but I can see it as a 30th card, mainly because it's so cheap. Diplomatic Pageantry. It's another maybe as a 30th card. Full of surprises. The previous 2 cards cost 1. This one doesn't. Keep them talking. Only in a hyper-aggressive deck. Master Stroke. Yep, this will go into every deck, including non-cunning decks. It's not quite aggressive negotiation since there's actual counterplay to it, but I suspect a lot of games will end with this card in this format. Far, Far Away. Returning one of your own units is a significant cost and can be worth paying depending on the circumstances. The upside is high enough that I would always play this card. Look to include 1-cost units or cheap units with 1-plate effects. Mouse Droid. I think these little guys are cute, but yeah, it's too low impact to play in your deck. Attendant Navigator. Not the most embarrassing turn 1 play, you'll really want to save this for the 1-plate effects. But like a few other cards we've covered, it'll do in a pinch. Imperial Loyalist. Stinky. Mandalorian Super Commandos. Definitely better with cheaper to deploy leaders. It's not the worst turn 2 play with the later ones. Marok's Fiend Fighter. We know where Marok was flying to. Value Town. Death Trooper Squad. An easy include in any Villainy deck. Remnant Trooper Corps. What did I just say? Exploit Advantage. What I said about the aggression version of this card applies here as well. Covert Veteran. It'll make my deck, but I don't have to like it. Imperial Defector. I see you, Imperial Probe Droid. Zealous Soldier. It's better than Cobra Veteran at least. N5 Sentry Droid. 4-2 is a lot worse than 3-3 on a turn 2 Sentinel. You're still going to play this. The vast majority of the time, it'll just trade with their turn 1 play. Yellow Aces Bomber. Another disgusting card for grief and happy to include in any heroic deck. Gallifrey Transport. I mean, it has a huge butt, so it'll be hard to trade off, and the attack is small enough for your opponent to just ignore it. It'll still make the deck more often than not, but I would cut this if I had too many 4-drops. Rebel Infiltrators. Yep, decent curve filler for any heroic deck. Grassroots Resistance. An actual removal event? Lep Ratcatcher. Ew. Moss Aspa Watermonger. More ew. Noti Mobile Pod. Yep, this is a card that goes in every deck. Faith in the Empire. Could be a 30th card in an Imperial heavy deck. Usually won't make it. The Way of the Mandalore. This is not the way. A New Order. Not worth a card. Enoch. True story. I actually went to high school with a guy named Enoch. I wonder what he's doing these days. Anyways, I mean, he's a 4-5 for 4 with the Imperial trait. That alone makes him at least playable. Every once in a while, the stars will align to allow you to cheat out a big boom boom. It's nice if it happens, but don't count on it. Paz Vizsla. Yep, big butt sentinels are good. Who knew? Marok. Another big butt sentinel you're happy to slam into your deck if you're in these aspects. Harrison Dula. Generally just a 3-4 for 3. There are enough sentinels that the ability won't come up every time, and well, your opponent can trade before she gets out of hand. Grand Admiral Thrawn. Reminiscent of Spark of Rebellion Mace Windu. You don't get the ambush, but support is good too. He's good at cleaning up small units, just isn't a big threatening finisher like some other 7-drops in the set. Wicket. Yeah, whatever. He'll trade for a unit that costs more. That's literally all he can do though? Ruch. The effect is strong, but man, this unit is stinky. I would err on the side of including him, but this is a card that will get resourced a lot. Red Leader. A solid space finisher that can use support to snipe a unit. It's a great include in these aspects. Balin Skull. It's a big dude with overwhelm and some text that can sometimes line up and be obnoxious. Poe Dameron. With the abundance of high-quality sentinels, Poe is one of the better turn 1 plays in any aggressive deck. It's absolute garbage if you're the one playing the sentinels, although that shouldn't come up that often in these aspects. Jabba the Hutt. Longtime viewers of this channel know how much I love Jabba. Also, what is going on in this art? He's holding a boglin. I'm sure that's like his child or whatever. It just looks hilarious to me. Jabba is fine, I guess. 2 attack is just not that exciting. Usually you'll be removing an advantage or a shield token, but rebuying Dursteel plating is a neat trick too. Corona 4. This is a mega obnoxious turn 1 play if you have the initiative, up there with Poe for what I want to be doing early with a Heroism deck. Gar Saxon. He's a 3-4 for 3. Note that giving him an advantage or a shield doesn't trigger the ability. Chimera. You'd have to be pretty far behind for this to not dramatically increase your chances of winning. Pre-Vizsla. This card is bonkers, hello? Blade of Talzin. Blech. Leia Organa. Probably the best 3-4 for 3 in the set, maybe ever. Obviously good in Luke, although any Vigilance Heroism deck is happy to play her. Cobb Vanth. It's okay, a bit slow. Handing out shields is a lot less exciting with Cad Bane lurking around. The Mandalorian. Even with Cad Bane lurking around, this card is stellar. Kind of a nightmare against leaders that don't get to remove shields for free. Bo-Katan's Gauntlet. Kind of reminds me of Coronet from Secrets of Power, which was a giga obnoxious card. It doesn't have the best stats, so be sure to get some value from it before your opponent can take it out. Luke's Jedi Lightsaber. It's a bit worse than Mastery since you don't have the option to put it on a cheap space unit, but +3/+3 for 3 is still a good deal. And well, obviously busted with Luke. A.T. Atin's Safety Droid. I would only play this if it did the safety dance. Ryder Azadi. This is a card worth sideboarding in if your opponent has some Gigabomb that you can't deal with. The stats aren't embarrassing, so you can main deck it if you're short on 3s. Koska Reeves. It's trivially easy to trigger the when played unless your opponent is having a very bad game. Slam dunk include in every Vigilance deck. Suma Verminoth. It costs 12! It has to be good! Hey, it's Editing Miranda here. I swear this happens like every video where I forget a card. So here is our Arcana Star Map. I mean, the card is whatever. If you're in the market for a 1 cost +0/+3, it can be like a 30th card, but the text doesn't really do anything. So that's it. Okay, back to the video. Reforge. You're just not going to have enough upgrades in your deck to make this playable. Moff Gergerod. That ability is nowhere near good enough to justify playing a 1/3. Gallius Rax. I swear I read this at least 6 times as Gallus Rex. I mean, I guess this works with Sloan. In any other deck, it's worse than most common 6 drops. The Great Mothers. It's a similar, although much more restricted effect to Chimera without the healing. That's still really darn good. Ravager. 9 is a lot, but I would play this in any deck that's capable of stalling to the late game. Unplayable in an aggressive deck, which should go without saying. Dathomiri Magics. You're not even guaranteed to have 3 2-cost units in your discard pile. Even if you do, how many of those are going to be filler cards because you needed turn 1 plays? This is just not what I want to be doing with my 6 resource turn. Bo-Katan Kryze. She's a turn 1 2/4 that sometimes hits for 4. Sign me up. Admiral Akbar. That text is going to be blank most of the time. Just be happy to have a 6/6 for 5. Luke Skywalker. You're definitely not playing him for those stats, so you better get that one plate ability to trigger. That is a real restriction, although not unreasonable. Look to include cards that can enable it, like Stronger Together, for instance. Sabine's Lightsaber. It's Academy Training. I'm much more likely to play Academy Training in this set since there are fewer ways to get punished for it, but it's still a 30th card at best. 8d8. Way too slow. Lang. An absolute menace in Cad Bane or any deck that can hand out advantage tokens. He'll usually soak up a couple attacks and trade for at least 2 units, can ask for much more than that. The Twins. This would be decent if it could give itself Sentinel. As is, it's a bit too situational for my liking, although I could see making the cut if I'm light on 4s. Bothan 5. What are they going to do? Take 4 every turn? Yes. Queen Saruna. She does require some smart resourcing, but if you can get her ability to trigger more than once, you're laughing. The Darksaber. I actually don't love this card. It only gives +2 HP, which isn't a lot, making it easy to trade with, unless you're putting it on an already huge unit. It'll be an absolute blowout if your opponent has upgrade removal, of which there isn't a ton of, but it's still a non-zero amount. It's also a blowout if your opponent can exhaust whatever you stick this on. By all means, play the card, it's just not a bomb. It's a high-risk gamble card, so treat it as such. Fane's Snubfighter. It's okay. I do like cheap space units, and getting an extra damage here and there is nice. Knight's Sister. So, if your opponent didn't keep a cheap card in their hand, they instantly lose the game. If they did, and can't deal with an 8/7 overwhelm, they lose next turn. Yep, pretty good card. Eviscerator. It's an excellent finisher if you have any kind of a board when you play it. Even if you don't, it's smacking your opponent for 9. Operation Cinder. It's not foolproof, but hey, I'll take conditional board wipes when I can get them. There will be instances where you can't afford to take the 5 damage, so keep that in mind. Green Leader. One of the best turn 1 plays in these aspects, or any aspects for that matter. Grogu. If you care about having initiative, Grogu will put in some work. Obviously, there's a synergy there with the Mandalorian. He is matchup dependent, however. Something like a Cad Bane is going to punt initiative anyway, so you're not getting any value from the action compression there. You still play him, even if you're going to wish he was a vanilla 4/4 sometimes. Han Solo. 3/4 Saboteur is already good. Passing out three advantage tokens has the potential to completely swing the game. Zeb Aurelius. An excellent finisher if your opponent can't interact with whatever you pump up. Even if they can, they'll take 3 damage for their trouble, which isn't nothing, and it is a checkmate if they're on low health already. Reckless Sacrifice. Worth it. Migs Mayfeld. Oh, Bill Burr, how the mighty have fallen. Anyways, 2/3s are stinky, but you gotta play them sometimes. At least Migs has the potential to get some value trades. Onyx Cinder. Big attack hidden units tend to be quite solid late game, and this is no exception. There's the added bonus that you can give your leader hidden, which can matter. Boba Fett's Rancor. I prefer my 8-drops to not kill me. Jokes aside, this can be situationally good, even if there will be board states where this is unplayable. Just have a backup plan for late game, I guess. Unfettered Ambitions. You fetter those ambitions, mister! Whistling Birds. Sure would be a shame if I had a leader that got your units to low health. Treacherous Minefield. I guess I'll just wait and attack next turn. Hellgate. Not the best stats, although serviceable, and well, 6 advantage tokens is a lot. Gorion Shard's Corsair. On par with, if not better than Ruthless Raider. The longer this is in play, the more difficult it is for your opponent to do anything meaningful. If you're blessed enough to have this in a Cad Bane deck, congrats on the free wins, lol. Executor. I want a bit more in my 8-drops, but it's playable if you have nothing else, I guess. There is no conflict. It's Academy training. Rehabilitation. I hate that it debuffs the unit. It's still good, mind you, it's just not the blowout that Change of Heart could be. Carson Teva. Treat this as an event that leaves behind a useless unit. Mando's N1 Starfighter. It's only good in the Mandalorian, and well, technically Grogu, but we're not playing that one. Since his leader ability still works when exhausted, it's just too much of a cost to turn off your leader ability otherwise. Killer and Beck. He's not likely to have more than 3 attack that often, still, a 3-5 ambush for 4 ain't bad. Fateful Goodbye. It's not worth a card for this effect most of the time. I wouldn't fault you for playing this as your 30th card, but I might look through your sideboard because there's probably something better in there. Peli Motto. Lamau, no. Jod, no. Jude Law. Yeah, he's a cheap Sentinel with a late game value. It's just what I want. Elzar Man. There's so much that can go wrong here. Even if limited decks don't play that many events, they do play a few. And do you really want to let them search through 10 cards to find their best one? If you happen to be playing a Force Leader, he can be okay, particularly if you restrain yourself with the when played ability. You don't have to do the full amount, just put the minimum to get a value trade and hope they don't find something. Camtono. The ice cream buckets. Just go get ice cream instead. Improvised Identity. A lot has to line up for this to do anything. No thanks. Sense Through the Force. If you don't have a Force unit and you don't choose 69, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Darth Vader. It's a bit annoying that he doesn't have Sentinel the turn you play him, but that's much less of an issue in Limited than Premier. It's an easy include in any Villainy deck. Eye of Scion. Save it for Twin Suns. One must destroy to create. It's pretty unlikely to do much, but if you happen to have something like 6 to 8 units with really powerful when played or when defeated effects, then sure. Although it's a win more card in that case. Neil, the cutest boy! Yeah, no. Anakin Skywalker. It's a big hidden unit that does something when you play it. It's a pretty good package for 5 resources. Choose your path. You're only playing this for the Mandalorian half, and even then you can't play this on turn 1. Is that worth it to have a late game Mando? Probably not. All right, so that's going to do it for the Ashes of the Empire set review. If you like the content, if you want to see more limited content, be sure you hit that like and subscribe buttons. And if you're going to be at Galactics and you happen to see me there, feel free to say hi. I will be there playing in the LCQ and hopefully in the main event. So I'll probably do another post-Galactics wrap-up video. I did one last year, so be on the lookout for that. So until next time, take care, everyone. Bye!